views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program host and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by TCN TV Network Incorporated. Due to the social nature of this broadcasting channel, videos may contain content copyrighted by another entity or person. The TCN TV Network claims no rights to said content. TCN TV Network cannot be held accountable for the copyrighted content. TCN TV Network is a messenger and sharer of information and strives to verify but cannot warrant the accuracy of copyrights or completeness of the information on this program.
Welcome to this edition of What Matters. I am Erica Elita, and today we are talking Caribbean cuisine. So, as a Canadian Caribbean, I love my Caribbean food. I hail all islands. My t-shirt kind of gives away one of my favorite dishes. But today we are going to talk a bit about the origin of some of the most famous dishes of the Caribbean, how they got started, and the people they got started with. Now, something I was discussing with actually Grant, our station manager here, I was saying to him that, a lot of times people feel that because they belong to a culture, they know everything about it. That basically, being a black person, well, then automatically I know everything about Caribbean food. Now, there's a tremendous difference between a good cook and a chef. And a good cook can prepare what they know well. Usually 4 or 5 dishes, maybe more, but they know how to make those really well. A chef can do like what you see on those reality shows where they give you like 5 ridiculous ingredients and they tell you combine these into an not only edible but delicious meal. And chefs understand flavors and how they combine and what you can do and temperatures and so forth. So there's a bit of a difference. Now, being familiar with something, growing up with it, eating it all the time, it doesn't mean you necessarily know its history. So I thought it would be interesting after this week's Jerk Festival in Centennial Park, the 17th annual Grace Jerk Fest. Up on the screen, you will see a gentleman jerking some, what are those? Oh boy, not sure, but it looked good. Like I told you, this show most likely will make me very hungry, so please feel free to bring me snacks and treats after the show. So the Grace Food Festival was this past weekend, 3 days long. You had food vendors, many crafts, entertainment. There's a huge stage. The daytime is actually like a separate party from the evening. It's a totally different vibe, and that's when all the entertainers came out. But of course, you're there for the jerk, and there's jerk everything. Obviously, jerk chicken and jerk pork being the most famous, but they had kangaroo, frog legs, they had crocodile, they had various meats that were jerked. And there, you see, yep, they're out there on the barbecue jerking the meat. So the Jerk Fest was a blast. We had such a good time. I went down with the network. I was there with Simone and Dave, and oh, there's my Darius, of course, the future of TCN. There's Grant in the background, Trish. We were all there, and, we're reporting, but there's Simone with Steps After Dark. We're there reporting, but the smells, the sights, the sounds, the music, it is all a part of the experience. So this week was the Jerk Fest. So I was out there smelling what I was smelling, eating what I was eating, and I said, you know what? This would be a great opportunity, this upcoming show. I usually do trending on my timeline today, but I said, let's talk a bit more about Caribbean food, its origins, where it came from, and all of that. Let's start at the beginning. Jerking. Jerking is not only the method, but it's also the seasoning. Now, jerk chicken or jerking originated in the country of Jamaica. So there we've got it up on screen. There's the shape of the island along with the flag, Jamaica. So jerking began in Jamaica, and we have here, from the information I gathered, they're talking about in the 17th century. So a bit of the history. So what is jerking? Let's start at the beginning. Jerking is meat that's dry rubbed or wet marinated in a jerk spice. So you can do both methods. Now, like I said, the method itself, which is jerking, and that would come from poking holes into the meat so that the flavor can absorb. So, a jerking kind of movement. And then the seasoning itself is also called jerk seasoning. Now, this is believed to have started with the Maroons. So the Maroons are African slaves who escaped when the British took over the island of Jamaica from the Spanish. So a lot of these slaves said, you know what? We've already been enslaved by these dudes. We're not doing it again. Let's leave. So they ran off to the mountains of Jamaica. There they met the Taino people, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Please feel free to call in and tell me if I'm not. The Taino people, and those were the natives of the island. And of course, they mixed. And with that came the mixing of not only the people and the genes, but the food, the methods, the spices, and the knowledge. So it was said that these Maroons were, up on screen, what we have here are some Jamaican women from the 1950s, and what they're selling is they're selling various desserts in Jamaica and, just the clothing. Caribbeans are very well known for keeping their whites also white and their clothes also crisp, even in the poorest of circumstances. So up on screen, we have some Jamaican women who are selling some desserts did I put where they were? In Montego Bay? In Kingston back in the 1950s. So now the Maroons have escaped. They've decided they had enough of the Spanish and they're not going to deal with the British. So off they go to the mountains where they meet the Taino people of Jamaica, the native people. So to adapt, they used what they had. So you're somewhere new, you don't know what's there, so you take the herbs, the spices, the available things, and you make something new so that you can survive. So they use the natural food sources to create a spicy sauce, and they slowly cook the meat over a smoking wood fire. Now, some historians say it originated with the Amerindians, as I said, the Tanos, and they mixed with the Maroons. Now, logic tells me, common sense, no, I'm not a historian, so that's why TCN has a disclaimer, that it would make sense that it was a fusion of both cultures. They go on to say that it looks like the Tanos developed the style and the seasoning, and the Maroons developed the marinade and the cooking pits, and together they shared that information. So what are the main ingredients in jerk? So the two most important ingredients are the allspice and the Scotch bonnet, both native to Jamaica. Now, allspice is actually the unripened fruit of a tree. So that's taken their little balls. And then, of course, Scotch bonnet, which is a type of chili pepper. And those are two of the main ingredients. Other things you will find in jerk, there we got the Scotch bonnet. And apparently they're named Scotch bonnet because when they're hanging from the vine, the shape of it is the shape of some kind of bonnet, obviously one I've never seen because I haven't never seen it. But other ingredients in jerk chicken would be possibly, everyone makes it different, and that's why I'm telling you, call in 647-931-4701, and you can have your say. But also too can be cloves, cinnamon, scallion, thyme, garlic, ginger, brown sugar, and those are all part of the ingredients in jerk chicken. So as I said, it could be a wet marinade, it could be a dry rub, but then also to the fire, how it is cooked, where it is cooked in the jerk pit. So what you'll see at first, it started out with, actual fire pits, and then they moved to oil barrels. So half an oil barrel, they started doing that. And then to make it more portable, you see this a lot in Jamaica. So it's like corrugated tin, I'm taking it, over the fire, and there in the middle you can see the chicken. I told you I'm not going to make it through this show. I'm going to eat my own arm. And it's the actual what's the word I'm looking for? The wood that it's cooked over, that is part of what gives it its flavor. So you will taste a huge difference between jerk chicken that's prepared outdoors, yes, with the fire method, compared to one that's made, in the oven. Although people have mastered it and they can mask it very well, and you would swear you got it from the side of the road in Jamaica. So that's a bit about the history of jerking chicken and how it got jerked. So we're looking at the Maroons, which were Africans and these people were from the Gold Coast. So that is part of modern Ghana. And they were taken from there, brought to Jamaica. So there are people who argue that the Maroons were not Jamaicans. The Maroons were Africans that stopped in Jamaica and kept on running. A lot of them coming all the way to Nova Scotia. They were leaving one way or the other, very determined people. And it's not surprising that Jamaica and Haiti are the first, and I believe only, correct me if I'm wrong, Caribbean nations that fought and won their independence. It is not surprising. And it's probably where the people were taken from, that strength, that resolve to not stay down. So this, as I said, Britain invaded Jamaica in about 1655, and the Maroons escaped around then. So you're looking at a method of cooking that has been around for literally hundreds of years. And they do believe that, as I said, the Tanos were doing it from before, and then of course the Africans came and they added their own special zing. So that is the history of jerking. And I knew it was going to take some time, but I think it is worth it, because just because you eat it, just because someone told you how to make it, it doesn't mean you know and understand the history. And I think the history of it is so rich, and it really does make a difference. And there's a pride that comes with it. So when we come back from this break, I'm going to be tackling the island of Jamaica. We're going to talk a little bit about the multiple wonderful foods that come from Jamaica. We're going to do Jamaica. I also have coming up, so if you're going to argue with me, do it now, Barbados, Trinidad, Haiti, and I had to throw in Guyana, although they are not a Caribbean island. I had to hail them up, and I will even tell you historically the reason why Guyana is always associated with the Caribbean. So we will be right back after this break.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity and our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
My name is Trish Curling, and I am an online coach, personal trainer, and yoga teacher, and your new host of Shaping Life, which is all about understanding that we have the ability and the control to take charge of our health and wellness. But we can't do it alone, and I can't wait to sit down with the best in the industry. Please tune in every Friday at 1 p.m. live here on the TCN Network.
Okay, welcome back to this edition of What Matters, and today we are talking about Caribbean cuisine. And on screen, as you can see, is the shape of the beautiful island of Jamaica, and I must hail it. I visited several times, and I do believe it is actually paradise on earth. I do believe it, the weather, the temperature, the food, the everything, the mangoes. Okay. So one of the things that the Caribbeans have in common through most of the islands are the fruits. The interesting thing is we tend to call the fruits all different names. So from island to island, the fruit will stay the same, but the name will vary. So sometimes you have to get translations. Today I'm concentrating mostly on the cooked food, the food that is prepared. The fruits and so forth, honestly, this could go on forever. There is so much food to eat in the Caribbean, and I'm so happy to be a Caribbean girl. So we're going to start with the island of Jamaica. Now, with a lot of Caribbeans, what you'll find is they only like to eat certain things from certain people. Your rotis come from Trinis, your oxtail come from Jamaicans, and each island does have its specialty, although a lot of islands do share a lot of the same dishes for different reasons. So Jamaica, Who did it start with? The indigenous people. So as I mentioned in the jerking section, that would be the Tano people and the Arawak. So we're looking at Spanish, Irish, British, African, Indian, and Chinese influence. And those are all the people, all the immigrants that passed through the island of Jamaica throughout the years. Not only were there slaves stolen from Africa, but as well there were many indentured, I believe that's the word, workers that came over from China, from India, from Ireland, the country my family's from, which is Montserrat. There were many, it is half Irish, half African, basically. There were that many Irish that came over to work. So that's where the flavors and the origin of a lot of the food comes from. And what's interesting is the other day, a friend, I was telling them about roti. They live in the States. And they said something about a flatbread. And I was like, don't say that to actual like Trinidadians. But in reality, if you're looking at it from a chef, like world food type of way, that is really what it is. It is a type of flatbread. So let's start at the beginning. We did jerk. Next thing is oxtail, and I'm wearing my shirt, oxtail over everything. So up on screen, we have some oxtail. Oxtail is varied. Just like everything else, everybody has a different recipe, but when it is right, you know it is right. It is a wonderful dish. It is literally the tail of an ox. It is chopped up, so it's beef, and it is prepared in a stew. Now, some people, I've been hearing about slow cookers. Some people make it in the oven. Some people make it on the stove. But oxtail is one of the national dishes of Jamaica. And my favorite way that it's made is with butter beans and spinners. And spinners are little thin dumpling. I couldn't find a picture with the spinners and things. So there's another picture up on screen with the oxtail looking absolutely lovely. And those are some good cuts. I got some the other day. Got to be careful. Sometimes it's super fatty. But with the spinners, which are little thin dumplings, and some butter beans and the right amount of brown in sauce, because I like it to be nice and dark. And oxtail is one of the national dishes of Jamaica. And they make it well. So aside from oxtail, you also have, and I don't have a picture of this. Oh, actually, we'll go to the next one. That was the biggest one on my feed, because I did ask on my Facebook feed, tell me your country, tell me your dishes. And ackee and saltfish and green banana came up more than once. So there on screen, we've got some ackee, saltfish, green banana. Now, I've got a confession. I don't particularly like green banana. I love a plantain, but I don't like green banana. But but when you have it with ackee and saltfish in the morning for breakfast, it's all the business. And what I found out also too is that there are a lot of that's an ital breakfast with your ackee and your grilled breadfruit and your mango juice. Oh Lord. Anyways, so that's an ital breakfast. And ital, that's actually another of the influences in Jamaica. The Rastafarian movement in Jamaica has had an effect on the food, and it's a vegetarian approach to cooking. Ital cooking uses little to no salt, and depending on the strictness of the follower, it could even include not using metal utensils, not using garlic and any other mood-altering seasonings and so forth. But that ital breakfast that I showed you was ackee, plantain, boiled foods, so provisions, breadfruit, and the grilled breadfruit is one of the joys of life. And those are provisions. Those are ground food or ground provisions or hard food, or however you put it. Erica personally is not a fan. So what those are yams, cassavas. There's one called dasheen, probably my least favorite. See a plantain there though, green banana. And so these are the root vegetables that are used in a lot as a side for a lot of the foods, and you'll also find them sometimes within the soups. So for Jamaican, making sure. So for Jamaican cooking, there's also they're different influence. As I mentioned, you've got Spanish, Irish, British, Indian, Chinese, and it goes on and on. So escovitch fish. One of my favorite meals. I got a lot of favorite meals. You're going to keep hearing me say that. Escovitch fish is another one that is absolutely delightful. And that is influenced by Spain. That escovitch the word escovitch comes from escabech, which is a Spanish word, which means meat fish marinated in an acidic mixture. And so that would be vinegar or, vinegar, mostly vinegar, lots of onions, some tomatoes It is delicious. And once I had the pleasure of having escovitch chicken. Someone made it. I've never been able to find it again. If you can direct that to me, please leave a comment below. That would be wonderful. So Jamaican cooking, obviously, like most of Caribbean cooking, using what you have. So lots of spices. Scotch bonnets are prevalent throughout the islands. And that's another thing, is that because often slaves were given the worst parts of food, stewing food for a long time, seasoning it well, made the difference between things not being palatable and things being delicious. So that's why you see a lot of stewing, a lot of long cooking processes. Now, what happens though when that translates to modern times is you do have a lot of people who will overcook things, deeply overcook things. They like things, double cooked. I have a girlfriend, she says, burn it twice. Everything has to be really cooked. So sometimes the shrimp's not that tender, but that comes from making sure that the meat was tender and palatable. And that's why a lot of times you will see that that long cooking process. So that is the island of Jamaica. Now, Jamaica is special amongst the islands of the Caribbean, and all the rest of the islands, don't get upset, but their culture, their food, their cuisine, their music has traveled throughout the world at a speed at which the rest of the Caribbean has not been able to match. So around the world, and I think also too with the music, the culture was obviously came right behind it, because the music is a part of the culture. And I think that's one of the reasons that Jamaican culture is so prominent throughout the world, and you see Jamaican cooking everywhere. Even the patties. That was a Cornish influence, I came to find out. So they say it's an empanada style turnover. And as a Caribbean person, that sounds so strange to me because it's a patty. But again, if you're looking at it from a chef's point of view, if someone were to say, explain to me what it looks like, that is what it is. So you have that flatbread with the spice, again, spicy meat in between, and that's your Jamaican patty. And Jamaican patties, I'm sure you've noticed, are everywhere. They started selling them at schools. They sell them in the corner stores. Jamaican patties are everywhere, and they honestly are a great quick snack. So that's a little bit about the history of the food of Jamaica. So keep that in mind. You have all these different countries coming into play. A lot of the desserts you find in the Caribbean, whatever the colonizing country was, you'll see that they tend to eat the same desserts as that country. So whether it be British desserts or Portuguese desserts or Spanish desserts, again, the influence of all the conquerors, all the countries, all the servants that have come through the country, it shows up in the food and the fusions of the food. And I personally, especially being from Montreal, believe that the fusion of food is one of the most beautiful things in the world. And that brings me to, actually, I don't have this much time, but I'll introduce my next country because we've only got a few seconds before we go to break. Next, we will be going to the island of Trinidad. Yes, Trinidad. So Trinidad has a very, very heavy Indian influence, and you see it in the food, you see it in the people, you hear it in the music as well. So when we come back from this break, we will be talking a bit about the food of the island of Trinidad. And again, if you want to call in, if you want to sound off on your island's food, how it should be prepared, what you think the best ones are. After this break, give us a call, 647-931-4701. Give us a call here at What Matters on TCN Network. I'll see you soon after the break.
At Benjamin Law, we understand the real cost of personal injuries. As the victim of an accident, you may be the one who's physically hurt, but your main concern is that your family are the ones who will pay the price. Benjamin Law will be there for you, helping, supporting, and working tirelessly to resolve your personal injury case. Call 1-855-899-4878 or visit benjaminlaw.ca and let our family of lawyers help your family.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. May your dreams all come true. Happy birthday to you.
to promote, report on anything negative in the community.
Welcome back to this edition of What Matters, Oxtail Over Everything. And today we are talking about Caribbean food, a bit about the foundations, the culture, the flavors, and we're covering some of the major islands. As I said, if your island isn't being mentioned, if you feel that I'm not talking about a dish that should be spoken about, please call in. Here we have a map of the Caribbean, so you see all of the islands that are considered. And of course today I did throw in Guyana, which is right there at the bottom, the little blue on the right hand side. And as you can see, no, Guyana is not in the Caribbean. It is part of South America, but because it is the only English speaking South American country, it is included in this show. So I had to make that exception for the island of Guyana. And I always was confused as why it was always lumped in with the Caribbean. But there's a lot of history to the reasons why. So at the first two segments, we covered jerking. We were at the Jerk Fest this weekend, the 17th annual Grace Jerk Fest over in Centennial Park. Huge event, huge crowds. Selena, if you could throw up one of those pictures, they could see how big the crowds are at the Jerk Fest every year, and it just gets better and better. This is the 17th year. I believe it is the largest jerk festival in Canada. It might be the largest jerk festival in North America, if I'm correct. And we were there this weekend, and that's what inspired this show. The sights, the sounds, the smells, and I said, you know what, we should know a little bit about where this all comes from, where does it originate? And of course, people are saying, oh, it originates in Jamaica, but why did it start? Where did it come from? So we learned a bit about Jamaica. We learned a bit about jerking, the methods, the reasons, the people who started it. We started off our show with the island of J.A. Now we are headed over to, I said Trinidad, right? We're going to do the island of Trinidad. So Trinidad, heavily influenced by Indian culture. So which countries would have influenced Trinidadian cuisine? We've got West Africa, Amerindian, Arab, Chinese, Creole, European, North Indian, South Asian, Latin American, Spanish, and Portuguese. And it is either in the seasoning, in the methods, you see the influences everywhere in the cooking. So what is Trinidad known for? Roti. Trinidad is known for roti. And in my research, what I've come to find out is here I thought I had big education. I knew about dal puri and paratha, and I thought I knew it all. There's like about 8 types of roti. They're all different types of roti. So dal puri roti would be the roti with the mashed chickpeas inside. And paratha, there is on the screen is bus up shot. So bus up shot is really what it is. It's a roti skin that's torn up and pulled apart, and then you use it to scoop up your chana, which is curried chickpeas. And I think Selena will know better than me. Selena, did I write down what else was in that picture or no? Was it in the description?
Chana, aloo, bodi, pumpkin.
Okay, so you got some pumpkin there, some aloo, and what's the other one?
Chana, aloo.
Aloo. Yeah, bus-up shot. Okay, bodi. So there's a Trinidadian dish, and I actually had the pleasure of going out for a traditional Trinidadian breakfast. And a lot of the food, as you see, it's kind of mashed. So if you don't know what it is, you might be like, I don't know. It's all delicious. Eat it all. Trust me. It's all terrific. So bus-up shot. The first time I heard of that was my friend's husband many, many moons ago. And I walked into the house. He says, you want some bus-up shot? And I said, pardon? What? And it took me a while to decipher what he was saying. I came up with bust up shirt, and over the years I found out what it was really called. So it is a type of roti. So roti is one of the things that Trinidad is known best for. And Selena, if you could pull up the full roti, the half, the one that looks like we should eat it now. That one, that picture. So roti now, when they say roti, they're usually, that's the skin, but it's also the meal. Roti is then packed with, it could be, now there's some roti restaurants here in Toronto that will blow your mind. They got 50 different rotis. Usually it's stuffed with a curried meat. So curried chicken, curried goat, lamb, you have shrimp, there's vegetarian, but it's stuffed with meat and potatoes. And then oftentimes you could get some tamarind in it. You also put that in the doubles, which I'm about to talk about, some pepper sauce. And it is a portable, delicious meal that that will fill you right up. So that is roti, and obviously there's a heavy Indian influence in that. Now the next thing, another favorite of mine from Trinidad, are doubles. Doubles are delicious, and they are like, for want of a better way to put it, not really. They're not mini rotis. Doubles are doubles. So doubles consist of barras, and that's a fried dough. So the little yellow parts there that you see, that's a fried dough. And oftentimes it could be served open-faced as you see it there, or it could be served closed. And inside is curried chana again. That's curried chickpeas. And again, some tamarind sauce and some pepper, and you're good to go. Doubles are often very inexpensive, so you can get a double for under $2 or $2, and they are delicious. And again, doubles can come stuffed with chicken, they could come stuffed with goat, they can come stuffed with whatever you want. But usually it's just the chana, which is a delicious quick snack. The only thing really guilty about that is the fried dough part. So that is the doubles. Now, the tamarind sauce, that's one of my favorite additions to both a roti and doubles, is it gives it another level of flavor. And Caribbean food is very, very flavorful. Even when the pepper's left out, I do hear people saying, wow, this is spicy. It's flavorful. It's very, very flavorful. Now, another Trinidadian this is a traditional street food. And I hope Selena can find the picture, because I did get a picture of a bake and shark hut in Trinidad. Not a hut, well, like a stall. So here is one. And what beach is it on? I think I put in the description. Marcus Beach. So bake and shark. Now that is a traditional meal. And if you could show them the picture, Selena, of it in the packet. Oh Lord, look at that. Does that not look absolutely delicious? So that the bread underneath it is the bake, and then they fill it with some shark meat and seasonings and some vegetables, and that is a traditional street food. Now, one of the problems with the bacon shark right now is that in the oceans of the world, the sharks are being overfished. So a lot of times now what they're doing is they're substituting catfish or ray instead of shark, because shark is harder to come by. And as I said, it is being overfished, but it does not stop the fact that is it is an absolutely delicious combination. Really, to me, fried dumpling, bakes, however you say it, Johnny cakes from all the islands. I love them all, even though bread is not my friend. So that is the island of Trinidad. Now remember, Trinidad having a heavy Indian influence, but then there's also the Creole, the Amerindian, the African, the Latin American, the Portuguese. And Selena, if you could pull up that map one more time. And again, if you look at your geography, that also explains why there's the influence. As you can see, Trinidad and Tobago is right off of Venezuela. So there's going to be a lot of influence from South America as well, in South American cooking. So that is the island of Trinidad. So after this, see, I'm kind of almost making it so I can introduce the next country. So we did Jamaica. Let's go to Barbados. We are going to go over to the island of Barbados on my bucket list. I've heard nothing but beautiful things about this island. And how many times have I said my favorite food? Have you guys figured out yet that I really like to eat food? Yes. Okay. So another favorite dish, this is my favorite Bayesian dish, is flying fish. Yes. Flying fish and cuckoo. Really, for me, I could leave out the cuckoo. I just need the frying fish. This is it stewed up, but there's another picture of it. Yes, that is how I like my flying fish. You hear how I'm getting excited? It is delicious. And as my friend was saying, sometimes it's actually prepared. They actually take the fish and they roll it up before they cook it. And then it's kind of like this, it's absolutely delicious. So that is the national dish of Barbados, flying fish and cuckoo. And when we come back from this break, we're going to explore the cuisine of the island of Barbados. I know I have to speed it up. I'm down to my last segment. So we're going to be doing Barbados, a little Haiti, and a little Guyana. I got to squeeze everybody in. I know Jamaica took up a lot of time. So when we come back from this break, we're going to speak about the Caribbean cuisine. We've got a few more islands to go. Call in if you've got something to say. Be right back after this break.
With so many newspapers within the community, it's sometimes hard to tell what separates us from the rest. Most of the time, they all brag about the same thing. You know, the large circulations, tons of online views, and it can go on and on. But what really separates the Toronto Caribbean newspaper apart from everybody else? Well, it's simple. Our service. No, seriously. Hi, I'm Grant Browning, founder and CEO of the Toronto Caribbean newspaper. I have over 20 years of branding and marketing experience, and I've worked with countless companies and corporations to do one thing, and that is to raise their profits with their brand. With over 40 years of combined experience in branding and marketing, our amazing staff is fully prepared to sit down and figure out exactly what you need to stand out from your competitors.
The reason why you don't see an ad anymore is because
the ad is too powerful, bring too much people.
So what are you waiting for? Give us a call today. We'll be happy to help.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity in our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
Welcome back to this edition of What Matter. We are speaking Caribbean cuisine, and we are going to go to a few more islands. So, the island of Barbados. Barbados is known for its flying fish and cuckoo, and the flying fish is actually on the money of Barbados. Barbados has a much, obviously, African influence, but add in Portuguese, Indian, Irish, Creole, and British. And this is where you get this amazing combination of techniques and flavors and foods. So aside from flying fish and cuckoo, they're also too known for their pudding and sauce. So pudding and sauce, what is that? That is pickled pork with spiced sweet potatoes. Now, like every other dish in the Caribbean, there is variation in everything that is made. So even the same dish is prepared differently from person to person. I think, do I have another pudding and sauce picture, Selena? Or is that the only one that I gave in? Something didn't load? Okay, because I got two pictures because I wanted to show the difference in how different they look. I can't say much about pudding and sauce because as a kid I did not find the appearance appealing. So I never really partook and it kind of stuck. But there is another dish that I love, and this is one of the few desserts that I included, and that is cassava pone. Cassava pone are little squares of delight. Obviously made from cassava. They are almost, they described it very well. They are almost gummy, for want of a better word, but absolutely delicious. And one of the things I love about cassava pone is that it is not too sweet. It really is that perfect balance, and I love the texture. I really am a fan of cassava pone. So I love Bajan food. So when I go to Barbados, I'm sure I'm going to have a very, very good time. Let's go on over to the country of Haiti. My Haitian people, guys, help me out here. This is time for you to call in because I'm about to massacre some of the names of your food. But I love me some Haitian food. What have I told you I don't like? I had the pleasure of working with this lady, this Haitian nurse, and she used to make for me Haitian black rice, and that is jaune jaune rice. Now, let me tell you something about me and rice. Rice and we have a relationship kind of like a toxic bad ex-boyfriend. It's not good for me. It doesn't treat me well. I hurt after I interact with it, but I cannot stay away from it. I love rice. I love rice and peas. I love black Haitian rice. I love cook up rice. I like rice, but rice does not like me. So I try to stay away from it, but every once in a while I break down and I have to partake. And if you put that rice in front of me, I'm going to have some. So that is, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, jaune jaune rice, which is also known as black rice. Another great dish, and I usually got it with the black rice, was the griot. So griot is grilled pork. And I believe I have a picture there of it, the griot. And it's just delicious when prepared. And that's the other thing too, is that for anybody out there who's seeing anything new and they're like, oh, I want to try this, I pray that you get to try it from the right place and the right person, because when it's not made correctly, like anything, it goes so very wrong. So griot is absolutely delicious. It is tender. It is flavorful. When well made, it is divine. Haiti, obviously, one of the major influence is the French. You have African, the indigenous Tano, same as, now remember, there's the Tano people again, and if you, I think I might do a whole show on them. If you look them up, you'll see that these people were indigenous all throughout the Caribbean, and Spanish and Arabic. So the cooking is similar to the Latin Caribbean countries, because remember now Haiti is a French-speaking country, and the language barriers that also separates culture. But it differs in several ways. And one of the things is it's the flavors of Africa that are infused into the Latin Caribbean cooking. And so that's what makes Haitian cooking so distinct and so different. It does really have its own flavor. Fun fact that I learned just today, the barbecue originated in Haiti. So I had somebody jump on there like Africans were barbecuing from wherever, but let's remember, if the Tano people were the originators of this, and there are different methods of cooking with fire. So if the Tano people were one of the people who were the people who originated barbecuing as we know it, it would make sense because the Tano people would have originally come from Africa. So that does make a lot of sense. So I thought that was a fun fact. And another thing that I really have had the pleasure to enjoy from Haitian cooking is les boulettes. I don't know if if I gave you a picture of them, boulettes. They're meatballs. These are Haitian meatballs, and they're bread bound with Haitian seasoning. And these are also absolutely delicious. Now, Haiti has a lot of food, and quite honestly, a lot of it I couldn't pronounce correctly. I had a feeling I was on the right track, but I wasn't sure. And each island that I've kind of brushed on is a show within itself. And I welcome you, comment if you are an expert, if you know your food, if you want to come in and talk about especially the history, the origin, the reasons, the history behind our food. I would love to have you. So that was the island of Haiti. And last but not least, we are going to go over to Guyana. Now, Guyana has some special status here, because Guyana is not a Caribbean island. Guyana is actually a country in South America. But because, as you see on the map, because of the location of Guyana, it is the only English-speaking South American country. And as I said, language separates culture, and it puts up barriers. So because Guyana is so close to Trinidad, a lot of the food from Guyana and Trinidad are very similar. So Guyana now, you have the African, Creole, East Indian, Portuguese, Amerindian, Chinese, and British influence. And you notice that throughout the islands, there are many similarities, but it's always a slightly different combination, which gives us our different techniques and flavors and tendencies. So Guyana, as I said, it is similar to cooking something similar to Trinidad. And why it would be different from the rest of South America is because of the language barrier. So when I asked, okay, what's the Guyanese thing? Pepper pot came up. Guyanese pepper pot. Now, what I came to find out as well is that almost every island has their version of pepper pot, but the Guyanese version is special. It is different. It truly is. And I had several people comment that they would find their way to whatever Guyanese person's house they could, Christmas, Easter, just so they can be in the pepper pot. And it is a stew. It's of Amerindian origin. It's with meat and cassaripe, so that's a cassava extract and seasonings. And as you can see, it looks rich and it looks hearty and it's delicious. And I've had it, and it's Guyanese pepper pot really is something that you should try. And again, like everything else, make sure whoever you get it from is vetted and people can swear by it and you're getting the right thing, because I don't want you getting turned off from this awesome food because you had the wrong one from the wrong person. Another Guyanese dish that I absolutely love is Guyanese chow mein. Guyanese chow mein is again different. That Chinese influence, I love the way Chinese influence kind of flows throughout the Caribbean, because believe me, the fusion is absolutely delicious. They say the difference with Guyanese chow mein, and I did not know this, if I'm wrong you can correct me, it's the bora bean and the 5 spice, and that's what makes it different from other chow meins. Something else as I go quickly to the end, another thing is the Guyanese cook-up rice. That is a variation of rice and peas. So Jamaicans don't do it. They have their rice and peas or their white rice, but a lot of other islands have like a cook-up rice. So there's meat involved. There's meat and some vegetables and the rice, and it comes out almost like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Not a pudding. What's that rice? I'm going to remember this after. It's an Italian one. That Italian risotto. Haha. That's it. So it comes out kind of like that. But again, absolutely delicious. And I am sorry I'm rushing through this. All the Caribbean share in common is the vegetables, which are provisions, which we showed before. The fruits, plentiful fruits all throughout the Caribbean. And that becomes a part, those are meals within themselves. Every island has some type of fried dumpling, some kind of boiled dumpling, and it varies from duff to Johnny cakes to festivals or a sweet form of dumpling. So although there's similarities all throughout the islands, every island is different, and just from me telling you all the different influences, you see why. So the colonizers, where the people came from, who passed through on the way, all of those things add to the flavor of Caribbean cooking. So I hope that this show was enlightening for you. It certainly was for me. I learned a lot looking up everything, and I do invite anyone who is versed in the cooking, the methods, the history, please contact me. We would love to hear from you. Thank you for joining me for this edition of What Matters. I will be back next week, same time, same place. And again, if you have any questions, comments, please feel free. And if you love the video, share it out. We're always in competition. Remember, oxtail over everything. Jay, I need one in a different color. I'll see you next week right here on TCN Network. Bye for now.